Will he bleed?
Will he bleed or will he bleed? That will be the question.
Indeed. All right, so it looks like Serral's just going to go pretty standard here, Wardy, for a hatch first. Nothing out of the ordinary, and nothing out of the ordinary on Camp TY either. Do you expect TY is going to bring out something weird on this map, Wardy?
He's going to CC first. That's kind of weird, right?
That's
a little bit unique in itself. It's not out there like cheesy weird, but it is take a little bit of a risk, because say Serral goes for like a gas pool hatch into some sort of very fast roach attack, TY kind of just died. It's not the longest of maps, right? Yeah, it's not the shortest rush distance either, but it's not your romanticide. So it is a little bit of a riskier choice, but he's going to get away with it here, it seems. And it's a nice way to start. And the CC first into some of the 2-racks openers or the 2-racks follow-ups, the 2-1-1s from this point. It can give you those few extra Marines to really just power up. And if Serral doesn't quite figure it out, if he doesn't realize what's going on, that's the sort of moment in which TY can overwhelm him early in the game. And Serral will not really know what's going on. His Overlord has been extremely safe scouting for proxy barracks, and by doing that, he's already kind of in the dark, right? So he doesn't actually know that this is a CC first, and hence he might not have the right count on units a little bit later in the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a little bit of a risk, like you were saying, especially against Serral, who does open pool first quite often, I would say, against Terran, if he expects that the Terran might do something cheeky, for example. So this is very nice. There's 4 links out on the way for Serral, and a very quick reactor, actually, on the first barracks of TY. So he's going to be pumping out Marines. He doesn't have access to anything like Hellions or anything like that for a long while. So maybe a bunker on the low ground or something, and just gonna try to get away with super duper green.
Wow. Third CC is like,
wow.
What? This is creative in a whole new way. You know, we started to talk about how we maybe need to see TY showing up with something a little bit special today, something a little bit different. This is absolutely it, but not in the way that I thought it would be. I thought it'd be a different way to put on pressure, a different way to, get some damage done. Not a completely different way just to open up macro-wise. The smart thing of this, right, is it's going to sell the idea to Serral that he needs to be safe against a Marine-focused push. But if Serral overcommits to a defense against an attack that's never actually going to be coming in, then obviously you're going to kind of fall behind against what is a very fast 3cc. So you see Marines only. That's already a warning sign from Serral, and he just does not have Overlords in any sort of position to figure out what's actually happening in this main base.
Yeah, and important also is that TY could well be playing to the series that Serral played yesterday against Bian, who also opened CC first, though into 3 barracks, right? And that gave Bian potential for aggression early on. Serral had to prepare early on for potential aggression, and now here instead TY, like you said, shows those Marines. Serral has to anticipate that this is at least something like CC into 3 racks, right? Because that's safe. TY would have died to just about anything. His first units were produced at 2 minutes and 40 seconds. That's crazy.
Yeah, no, he's played such a risky game. I can't believe he's going to get away with it so easily in the end almost. And now he goes into what is kind of like a 2-1-1 follow-up, but it's such a delayed 2-1-1. Here's the Overlord speed, so at least Serral will at least try to get in. He doesn't actually go deep enough to see the 3rd CC just yet, and it's tough because it kind of feels as though he's probably just thinking, okay, Marines probably got a 2nd racks hidden back there. And yeah, he does. It's just way further behind where he thinks it is because of the fact that the CC came down. He still doesn't get in, and he loses the Overlord for the supply block.
Yes, and it really seems like TY has thought things through, and he has looked at Serral and his scouting patterns, and he has Marines where the Overlords are gonna come in, right? And maybe he anticipated that Serral wouldn't gather information until a little bit while later, that his Overlords would stay back. And Overlord speed, I mean, that's further investment. That's gonna set Serral even further behind Wardy, because yeah, I mean, it costs money, and he lost an Overlord on top of it, while TY has been the greediest Terran that I have ever witnessed so far.
Serral figured it out, though. He got in with the Overlord on the left just far enough to see the starport still building, and that timing does not line up with anything else than it being a 3rd CC, right? Why else would the starport be that late on here? And you can see it in his response. Yeah, he had a Baneling Nest up and ready to go. As soon as he saw it, Lair started. 10 more drones in the production tab, now taking a lot more gases and really readying himself for a proper mid-game here. So Serral found a little bit of information he needed to start reacting properly, and that's exactly what he'll do now. And so he's not going to be in too bad a position, I want to say. Stuff like the Baneling Nest was still unnecessary, right? The Overlord speed was still a commitment and investment, but at least he hasn't died, and at least he's going to get into the mid to late stages now in a little bit more comfortable of a position than it was originally looking like he would.
Yeah, and there's going to be a first poke by TY. Don't expect these medevacs will find too much damage. They'll actually get spotted by a circling, and 2 Marines get unloaded to deal with that circling. But what TY's real punch here is going to be, Wardy, is going to be that tank push, possibly onto this base, onto this 4th base that he's flying over right now. So that's going to be pretty scary. And one of the things that Serral does have to work with is the fact that TY didn't open Hellions. And when you don't open Hellions as a Terran player, then the creep spread can get out of control. So TY, I think that this is somewhat of a creep controlling mission, especially the way that he is posturing with his army, is kind of saying, okay, don't spread creep in this area. This is where I possibly or most likely plan to come from later.
We saw a really cool interaction on the left side, by the way. Serral is trying to use a Drop-A-Lord to drop a few Lings in. TY found the Lings and then realized what they were there for, so he went hunting for the Drop-A-Lord, but Serral very smartly moved it away. And now he's going to be able to bring that back in to use a Bailing Drop. But it does notify TY of that idea, that aggression being over there. So something to keep our eyes on. Again, Serral about to use that Bailing Drop right now, and we'll see if TY can react accordingly. Because again, he should know that the potential of this aggression, of this drop play on the left side, is available to Serral. And it is one of the benefits of having gone into the Overlord speed. You can make use of these Bailing Drops, and it's just that something extra you have to keep an eye on as a Terran. You have to make sure you're watching the minimap all the time, otherwise you're going to take a lot of eco damage and start falling behind as the lift and leave happens over from TY on the front, and otherwise just extra racks and powering up into a big powerful mid game with 8 barracks.
Yeah, and this Overlord's just gonna sit there. It has option to go into the 3rd or the main base, and I have no doubt that whenever Serral kind of attack moves into a comfortable position, when he realizes that he can just attack move his army, that's when he's gonna run in with the Overlord. So exactly now is when that's happening, and the Overlord will go in. TY paying attention at the front, and Niall catching this wonderful Bailing Drop as 12 workers have gone down to it. Here is the tank push that we've been talking about from TY. There isn't a lot of creep spread here, thanks in part due to that first drop that was posturing here, and now TY with a good position and actually a lot of Marines in the back here. I'm not sure that Serral can take this on, but he's getting ready for the sandwich. Here it comes, Wardy. Units from all over the place. Serral is diving in. A lot of Banelings left over, but the tanks are holding strong, and TY, I think, is gonna eventually get cleaned up, but Serral being a little bit shy with the rest of his units here.
It felt as though TY had the position, and it almost felt as though Serral got the Baneling connections he needed. Overall, I think it's okay on both sides. Serral is starting to get Hydras up as well, so his army's only improving from here on out. And this is a wonderful catch of reinforcements in the middle of the map, slowing down the powering of that right-hand side position. So now that you can slow this down, maybe Serral can clean it up as Hydras pop up. Going to be close, because now he's maybe on the way to losing the base. He is going to lift up and evacuate the Marines. The tanks are left alone. They're cleaned out, but the drop goes into the main base, so TY can keep this pressure up elsewhere, as he's now finally able to reinforce the position he just left.
Yes, exposed Hydras as well. That's going to be nice pickoffs. Those are very expensive on the side of TY, who's still applying pressure at the front. How has he done this? He's going to be past Serral's counterattacks, and now he is able to take down that 4th base. What a wonderful maneuver from TY here. Now he's going to consolidate his army on this low ground and with the tank, and I think he's in a wonderful position, Wardy.
Yep, taking down that base and Serral not really having an alternative is extremely costly, because now Serral is basically stuck on 3 base eco. And while this was an 8 racks, while this is heavy 3 base commitment from TY, now that you've killed a 4th base, he's just going to start his own command center. A couple Liberators on the way, throwing claws, all of the things that are just going to power TY up in the future, and he can get away with it now. Having denied the 4th, he's in a perfectly okay position to take the later 4th of his own and to play this out. And Serral is very much so just stuck on kind of Lingbait and Hydra. Eventually, you would kind of start thinking about, an infestation pit and then that lurk den and the hive. But that's just not really on the cards right now with just how much Serral has ended up losing. So he's going to have to play this mid-game composition for a long time, and he's going to have to find a lot of moments like this where he's able to find the fight, where TY is not really expecting it. Those are the sort of fights that might keep Serral in this a little bit longer. Imagine TY just spent his money, by the way. He's got 1k minerals in the bank. He would be on like a 20, almost 30 supply lead.
Yeah, it's actually kind of crazy. He's even on workers, and he has been for a little while now. He is researching drilling claws as well for the mines. That's gonna help a lot against Link Bane, but it's normally not the response that I see or prefer against the Hydras. I like tanks, which is already what he was doing against Hydras, and they would help with the Banes as well. Do you have any insights as to why he might want the mines here?
A mix can sort of be okay. Maybe he was just kind of going mines. I don't know really. Maybe sometimes a mix can be kind of nice, and maybe just a couple for drops even. And maybe even just having the option for later on if he kind of wants to just add a few mines and drop a bit with them. I don't know. It's actually a pretty good question because he does kind of go back into just kind of tank production almost immediately, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, he isn't really producing the mines. Maybe it's for a later
like
switch
two.
or something of the sorts. Yeah,
or
maybe it's just maybe he was just defaulting to it before seeing the Hydras or something like that. Not sure.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say as well. But I feel like he started the drilling floors when he killed the base, right? When he kind of knew about the Hydras. So and he's dropping in his main base so anyway. So he's gonna get the spawning pool, and that's obviously a good shutdown. And now Serral's not gonna be able to make lings for a little while. And Serral is just kind of being pulled around at the moment. Is just split nicely here to minimize Widow Mine damage on his army. Good splits continue.
Yeah,
he will get
the pool has not been remade. Pools, Wardy, as a Zerg player, sometimes you just don't notice that you're missing a pool and you keep making links, and then all of a sudden you don't have links and you're like, where are my links? And they're not making, and I don't see a pool in production still, but this is a huge flank, and Serral's actually gonna clean up the army of TY here in the middle. He's gonna be forced to retreat onto safer grounds. Is there tanks to anchor this army? He needs to drop somewhere safe.
There is not, and that's the problem. Where do you actually drop right now? Because Serral is underneath you, and there's no tanks, right? It's not like Serral can't run anywhere. So Serral can continue chasing. He just lost his Hydra Den, so he's really struggling in terms of production. But half of TY's army is missing from the third base. All of these SCVs are in trouble. What a catch this turned out to be for Serral, who will just hold this high ground, keep the bio away. He's killed 11 SCVs. He traded a good amount of army out for this. And even now, he's going to continue chasing in and continuing to trade well. Medevacs are going down too. And honestly, just Serral turning the game around in this moment. If he can just get the spawning pool and then the Hydra Den back up and running, he's going to be in a good position. Why are the SCVs attacking drones?
They were running for Banelings and just found themselves then. Oh my god, this is crazy. And now Serral is almost finished rebuilding his spawning pool. I don't think he has started rebuilding his Hydra Den. But yeah, I mean, this was a great turn of events for him. Cleans up the tanks. TY seemed to be a little bit too over-eager, perhaps, to continue to apply pressure, but difficult to blame him too, right? This all happened off creep in the middle of the map, so tough luck.
Yeah, no, it was just it was the wrong place at the wrong time. Serral was on two different sides, and there was just no way to salvage that position. And even if it happened a bit further towards Serral's base, right, maybe then you get back home, you unload, and everything unloaded can probably hold it off. It's just the fact he had to unload in the natural, then you lose the third position, and that's what made this really awkward. Serral, he righted his wrongs, by the way. He started a second spawning pool, and he cancelled that and made a Hydra Den instead. So he's on the way back to all of the unit production that he needs. And honestly, TY just lost so much momentum in this game. The problem for him is he's not really set up to play a longer game, right? I know he added a fourth base, but that's kind of all he added. He never added on a second factory or anything. So that's only just coming up now. And that's part of the problem. Rebuilding tank count is extremely slow. And that's why he needs to stick with these drops like this one in the main base. This is his one way to keep Serral back and to win some fights at the moment, because he doesn't have the large army that he really needs to go elsewhere.
Yes, indeed. And I think it all comes down as well to what you were mentioning earlier. If TY had been able to spend his money a little bit better, I mean, tactically, he has done so many cool maneuvers here and keeps finding space and sniping key buildings and units from Serral. And unfortunately for him, it doesn't seem like it's going to be enough at this point. These are decent trades. Be careful with the Hydras as he's going to try to get out. And actually, I expected that Serral would be the one sieging that fourth base. He had a really nice position where he could have gone into the fourth, and then he had the army at the north ready to go into the third when TY switched position. So good job by TY in the last couple of minutes, sort of stabilizing. And now Serral showing his army to that sensor tower as well is going to allow TY for good positioning and maybe even to start creeping towards that north base of Serral. And if he's able to do that and get the fight there consistently, then I think that TY is still in a workable position. But here comes Serral.
I mean, you jump on the tanks. One of them goes down before it gets to fire. The second one gets 2 shots off, maybe. The Ling Bane is making its way through. Of course, this is all off creep. There's a lot of Hydras that still have the support that they need, it seems, to get on top of this base. And, well, I mean, that's the issue, right? The tanks are just not sieging in time. A few extra Banes about to arrive. The Hydras will go and escape behind. Can they reach the Banes, the Marines? Not
the
really
CC is getting really low.
Yeah. It's a lost fight for TY, right? And even if he cleans up these Hydras, Serral just has so much reproducing versus what TY can reproduce. On 48 SCVs, his economy is just way off what he wants it to be.
Yeah, and all these fights are so close, much closer than they seem, right? If that medevac was unloaded, for example, if those 8 Marines were doing their DPS throughout that entire fight, if those tanks were sieged, if the production had just been a little bit cleaner, a little bit tighter on the side of TY, all of a sudden you have a few more units, and that looks good for you, right? Like off creep, very difficult to disengage for Serge, but it's instead Serral taking all of these little engagements, all of them barely going in his favor, and now with this Rambai, gonna find a lot more damage as he's gonna kill off one of the very crucial tanks. Oh, can TY save it? Nice.
Yeah, you need to save the tanks, right? If there's a way back in this game for TY, it's by actually having some kind of splash damage on the map, and it's one of the issues he's kind of had, and he finally started to right that wrong by having a second factory and getting more tanks up. And even then, it felt like the tanks just hadn't gotten a chance to be in position on that far left side of the map, and hence Serral was able to take the fight we just saw. Serral's still playing down on upgrades and everything because he's still just stuck on lair tech, and in a way, it almost feels as though if TY just slowed the game down at some point, maybe none of this would have happened, right? Like, he was well set to just build up a good tank army and push while maxed out instead of trying to make things happen too soon.
Yeah, I mean, in the middle of the map, when that fight happened, the one that Serral cleaned up TY had 2 tanks there. I mean, I think we're witnessing the final moments, and then we'll go and dissect this game further. But yeah, Serral's just gonna come in here with a little bit too much. Those Banelings are having the party of their lives, and Serral will take game 1. Wow.
Yeah, wow is a good way to phrase it, because he was in serious trouble. He lost his 4th base. TY is in control of this game, and there was just that one fight where he lost way too much. And it wasn't the fight itself, I don't think it was even necessarily that bad, because he obviously saved a lot of units. It was what followed from that, the inability to unload those units to then defend his 3rd base. That's what allowed Serral to do damage. And that was the first time TY really took a big loss in this game. And it was just a loss that then gave Serral the momentum switch he needed to just rally on through and win it out. And even then, if TY had maybe, like I say, just backed off and held a little while longer, maybe in that scenario, he could have just maybe made it work, because Serral wasn't teching up. But of course, it's so hard to know if Serral is teching up and building a hive behind all of this Lingbane Hydra, or if he is just still massing units aggressively.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the tank production could have been a little bit more consistent as well on the side of TY. He had a single factory, yes, but I don't think he was constantly producing, right? Like when the army gets cleaned out on the map, there should be another tank popping up, if not already out, that he can siege, that he can drop by, but that wasn't the case. So TY, with a few slip-ups, I think, on the mechanical front, but strategically, I mean, he really brought it, right? Like from beginning to end, he had such cool tactics and such cool priorities, and unfortunately, it wasn't enough, and that's got to be a little bit gutting for him.
Yeah, especially when this was TY's map pick as well. Right now, you've got to go into Serral's map pick. You're going to Light Shade. We've talked about this being the go-to Zerg map pick once Jagannatha is vetoed in ZVT for the last 2 or 3 months, and for good reason. There's a lot you can do as a Zerg. You can be aggressive with the shorter rush distance. You've got alternate bases on each side of the map you can take easily for your 4th. Those rotations allowed you to make run buys happen as well. In the same way, it's very difficult to make this map work for you as a Terran. So very intrigued to see what TY comes up with. I loved his building game number 1, and I really feel like it worked out. It put Serral into an odd spot. Definitely took advantage. He played it smart. He played his positions well. But if you can't do all of that again, what's Serral going to do from a lead this time around, right? That's the scary prospect.
Yeah, it's one of the shorter maps, Light Shade, and it does have that very wide open space at the triangle 3rd as well, which is kind of a Zerg paradise, right? Like as for Terran, I mean, there's a couple of chokes, especially the one in the middle of the map. That's kind of difficult for other races to cross against Terran in particular. So we'll see if TY is able to make use of that or any other features of this map. He surely has something prepared. And yeah, it is this man, the twice GSL champion last year, TY.
In the bottom right-hand side, the Red Zerg player from NC Sports is, of course, Serral.
Okay, hatch first, a barracks and a gas on the side of TY. So this time around, for sure, just chilling. Probably just gonna make a Reaper and open up a lot more standard. But I mean, that's kind of just playing into Serral's strengths, I feel like.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. Obviously, there is room to work with once you get up to 2 bases or so to maybe make something intriguing happen. We'll see what TY maybe has in store for himself here, has in store for Serral. I don't really know what you do for the best, honestly. Like, it gets to the point where Serral just seems to be a little bit too good in a lot of these scenarios. And I think back to like, he's just so good at figuring out what you're doing a lot of the time, right? I think back to a game he played against Bjorn. I think it was back in Aces ROG, and it was one of these games where Bjorn's doing something so sneaky, so weird. It was like, wow, this is like so smart from Bjorn. And Serral's just like, well, I haven't seen anything to alarm me, but I'm just gonna send a couple Lings to scout for Banshees at a really weird time that makes no sense. And he finds like the Banshee plan. It's like, what? How does that make? And that's what gets you about Serral. Like, he just has everything in his mind, and so it's so hard to just trick him. And that's what I thought about when I made my prediction. Like, how do you trick him multiple times in the series to win a best of 5? Like, a best of 3, I can kind of see it. A best of 5, that seems so tough, especially when you always have to follow up just perfect. Otherwise, he capitalizes on your mistakes, and that's exactly what we saw in Pillars of Gold.
Yes, indeed. And he is a very capable player, obviously, the best in the world, perhaps the best ever to play the game, perhaps. So he is very comfortable taking it to the late game, and a lot of the times that means, he'll account for things. Very, very nice pickup from TY here on a drone. Very unusual.
Yeah. You don't usually see it, and Serral knows you don't usually lose a drone in this scenario either, so he was a little bit upset on the camera. Yeah, no, it's not meant to happen. It's just going to be 3 CC from TY, so yeah, he kind of just plays the macro game and kind of lets Serral do what Serral wants to do as well. You're right, it's dangerous. It is definitely dangerous. It feels like it's exactly where Serral wants to be, but the one thing I would say that TY really did well in the last game early was put himself in good positions tactically, right? And when his tanks got cleaned up, he was already making a play into the main, knowing that it was going to be difficult for Serral to pull back. And if he can make a few moves like that on this map, maybe that's going to be his secret to success.
Yeah, and there's a really cool thing that he was doing is he chose which expansion to deny with the SCV, and he chose the northern expansion, right? And then the Reaper checks that it is this lower expansion that has been taken as a third. So maybe that comes into play, right? Like, this is the type of third that maybe TY can make something happen similarly to last game where he dropped into the main. There's those same capabilities to siege that low ground and then go into the main. So we'll see what he does. It's gonna be a Banshee. It looks like maybe a Raven, but most likely a Banshee, all right?
Yeah, safety 3 CC Banshee, right? One where you don't typically get cloak with it. Sometimes you get a later cloak and you start a second Banshee, but just this one Banshee can do so well. And when he comes across and sees, I don't know, maybe just a drone on the third base or so, but whatever it is he sees, he actually cancels the Banshee and starts a Viking, and will also start the cloak behind it as well. It might just be that the Overlord scouts him, right? So he's like, yeah, you think I'm going to make a Banshee, especially because it's 3 CC, right? And so if you think I'm making a Banshee, you're probably not going to be aggressive, so I can get away with just making a Viking instead.
Yeah, starts the cloak as he sees the Overlord see the CC. So, Serral goes in there not knowing when the cloak started, but TY started it right away and starts the cloak again as the Overlord goes in again. That is so funny. So pretty much confirming that there is an upgrade going, even though he did open with the Viking first. TY committing to the mind games.
Yeah, it's smart as well, right? Because he even starts another Viking, right? To really try and sell this idea of, oh, look, I'm building cloak, trust me. There's another Starport unit, but then he gets across, sees the factory on the tech lab, and so the surprise is gone. It is not going to be any Banshees at all. And, I mean, that's fine. Like I said, this one Banshee doesn't really matter so much now, right? If it's going to be there or not, because Serral's not going to attack into a potential Banshee, So, all good on either side. Nice for Serral to figure it out. Maybe allows him to skip spores for a little longer. And other than that, you can just see Serral going crazy on the drones. Why not? It's 3 CC that you're up against.
Yeah, at the same time, TY has been greedier than most Terrans. He even started his double eBay very fast. He only made 2 Hellions, or he only made 4 Hellions. He didn't make that Banshee. And he made a quick tank. Tanks are really cool on this map also because they cover the natural and the third from that little high ground. So TY, again, going for the greed. And I like it quite a bit, right? Like, he would have, I feel like, died to a few different potential attacks here. But like you said, he's been playing with the information that he has. And trying to play as many mind games as he can to try and sell to Serral, maybe to try and make him over-defend against things that aren't coming.
No, definitely makes sense. It's funny as well, because I wonder if that gets in Serral's head a little bit, further down the line of this series too. What if game 3 Serral's like, man, he just keeps on doing these greedy builds, we're going to roach all in, which is not out of the possibility for Serral. You see him do 1 all-in typically per series in a best of 5. You know, and maybe that's the game where TY just opens like some kind of marine into tank play or something. It just gets completely shut down. You know, there's those things to think about as well. So definitely cool to see him kind of abusing the fact so far, though, that Serral seems reluctant to all in and getting away with a lot of it. Seems good for me. Seems good to give TY a good shot at getting a game on the board.
Yes, indeed. And I'm not sure exactly what it was that TY saw that told him there's no roaches coming, but he did have that Banshee potential, right? Like he was ready, and roaches on this map are fairly common. It's a very short rush distance map. So so I feel like TY is just way more flexible than most Terrans, right? A lot of Terrans, maybe even most Terrans, fair to say, will go with whatever build they plan on, whereas TY is seeing what he sees and then kind of swapping things around and adapting a lot. This is a little bit dangerous, but the tanks are sieged off of creeps, so it's gonna be a nice creep clearing expedition, and TY is getting ready for a siege from this high ground potentially onto the 2 bases actually of Serral. Serral choosing to expand twice on this area, so will be highly contested.
Yeah, we're gonna be seeing Serral is already kind of got some units around that left-hand side, possible, you know, flanking in units. We'll see how he wants to use them. Because this is not a fun position to attack into. You got to go up a ramp and across the side. It could be that he just uses those units for counterattack as well, especially if he realizes that this position's being reinforced. Maybe that's an opportunity in waiting. That, or he tries to catch reinforcements. He is going to come in the side, so here we go. The extra tactical siege up just yet, and those Banes really are going to make it difficult for TY to pick where to split to. And he's going to get, I mean, absolutely destroyed, Cats. I hate to say it so bluntly, but there's nothing left, and it feels like Serral's army didn't even take a dent in it.
It really didn't, and he really got dismantled. I was ready to say this is such a strong position. 3 tanks on this high ground, like you were saying. But Serral not wasting any time either, right? Like, he knows how much he has, and he knows that it's enough, and he goes for it. It's so difficult to make this type of assessment.
Did that fight happen without combat shield too? Because that also hurts, right? Like, combat shield was a few seconds from finishing. That sucks too. And all of a sudden, this was again 8 racks from TY, right? So all of a sudden, you've got to go from 8 racks and try and build a 4th base, but you know that 4th base could have been much sooner. Right? So you're playing from behind against Serral, and that ain't a pretty position to be in.
Absolutely not. I mean, the tank count getting reset as well is just such bad news for TY. That's one of his glimmers of hope, right? We were talking about it last game. AoE damage is going to be so very important. He needs to find effective and efficient trades, and that is very, very difficult to do without tanks, without mines. Against Hydras, tanks are going to be extremely important, so losing those 3 and not having very many to fall back on, it seems like Serral might be ready to be aggressive once again.
Yep. Most definitely. He's maxed out on everything, right? He's got a bank already built and Hive on the way. It would make sense for Serral to at least try and trade a little bit. It might also be the case, though, that he feels like he doesn't need to as long as the 4th base isn't mining, which he knows it isn't. He's got an overload spreading creep on the left-hand side, so he might hang back until he confirms that. Because his army's getting better, right? When the Hive finishes, he'll add Vipers. Once you add Vipers, it's only going to be an easier position to break because you're going to be able to blinding cloud those tanks, abduct a couple Liberators, you know, stuff like that. So, yeah, I don't mind it either way, whatever he decides to do. I mean, I feel like Serral makes the right decisions more often than not. And right now, I mean, he's even in position to see this drop coming in. He's going to get a full medevac, Caps. Nope. What? Oh. I think he just attacked his own Hydra, right?
With a Baneling, right? Yeah,
with
that's a Hydra corpse.
Yeah.
That's cool. Oh my god.
That saved the medevac. Okay.
That's incredible. Yeah, I love it. And TY really needs a lot more of that. Serral with amazing creep spread already and 2 armies out on the map, so he's gonna be doing 1-2 punches. He's gonna try and find opportunities here. He's gonna actually spot this Liberator, sadly for TY, but TY does also get a heads up. TY is not gonna slow down, however, and Serral is pushing in on this front as TY pushes deep onto creep already. I can't. This is a little bit reckless, but he's really, really going for it. And hey, if he gets away with clearing this much creep, props to him.
Yeah, but I mean, is he going to get away with it? Serral, I feel like, was very responsible, by the way, as he's pushing medevacs back on the bottom side. He killed one of them. Serral was extremely responsible. He pulled away from the left side very quickly with everything. He realized, you're not defending your 4th base. I need to get back home and defend myself. There's no reason to give up half my army and to make this more difficult than it needs to be. You're already, not really minding this 4th. I can come back and deny that later. let's just focus on surviving myself right now. And I love that prioritizing. So this is a strong position for TY again. Stronger than before, you could argue, right? You know, it's up 2 ramps, even chokier than previously. Harder to get a wrap around. Obviously, the downside of it is it's not really anywhere too meaningful just yet. It's in a great position to clear our creep. And that's about all this army is in position to do.
Yes, indeed. All right, the planetary fortress is gonna hold strong. Yeah, TY was he had me scared on that low ground for a second there, but knowing that the army of Serral was, or at least a good chunk of it was on the other side, he repositions on the high ground as he sees Serral pull back. Then Serral comes into that position from 3 different angles, so if there was anything there, it would have gotten crushed. And I think there was like a tank and a couple Marines maybe on that low ground, and instantly Serral has Queens there ready to respread the creep and retake that position. So all the work that TY did and those 3 scans and everything that he was trying to do, which was rather risky, I thought, Wardy, like just going that deep on creep and throwing 3 scans with his whole army kind of just in the middle of that dent.
Yeah. I wonder if it was just what he knew was on the map for Serral, right? Where he's like, okay, I've got like at least, it sounds crazy, but he's like, I've got 10 seconds where I can clean creep and then pull back to this high ground, which he kind of did because he saw the units on the left side. And he really did only have like 10 seconds or so because, like I said, Serral pulled those units away from the left and back home really quickly. I imagine it's just taking that to his advantage. Like, it's a bit reckless as well, yes, perhaps, but he's kind of in that position where you just got to take those risks as well because otherwise he isn't going anywhere. If he doesn't make some kind of play, Serral already owns the entire map. He already owns all the bases. You've got to start doing something. You've got to make some progress. Otherwise, otherwise you're just going to continue running into brick walls. So, yeah, I don't mind that.
I don't mind it either. It's just the demoralizing part for me is that after all that effort, then Serral comes in those 10 seconds later, takes the position again, and instantly respreads creep. So all of your work and your risk that you did, it's gone. This man is just, you know, he's like the Wolverine. He just healed right away.
Yeah, it's almost not fair, is it? Our game resumes. We're gonna get going again in a moment. As I mean, we're primed to maybe try and get a bit of a later game up. TY's building 2 factories and a Ghost Academy. The idea of playing a later game is there. The question is, can he withstand 5,000 minerals that Serral has in the bank? Okay, it's not a lot of gas just yet, but it will become a lot of gas given a couple of minutes of Serral just mining without losing too much.
Yeah, and that is already a disgusting amount of banelings. So Serral already with a very, very strong army. If we look at the army value, he's already well ahead actually, and with potential to grow, right? So yeah, TY can try to take it to the late game, but Serral doesn't only have the bank, he already has the more expensive army on the ground.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy when you see Serral's army supply is 20 less, and then you're like, wait, but it's worth that much more? Crashes into this planetary. I mean, he's at a point where he can afford to do this, right? He can crash into a planetary. This is an annoying position because of the tanks on the high ground. He will, I want to say, almost sacrifice the Vipers, but they stay alive as well. I mean, is there any part of this that TY wins out in? Not really. The Vipers got low. I thought maybe you could get rid of those, but nope. And then what was maybe a pretty cool position just falls apart once again. Serral cleans it out, and at the same time as TY, you don't even have a replacement command center on the left, by the way. He's building the new CC. He is floating one up to the 12 o'clock position, which is good. That's something to work with at least, but I imagine that has a similar fate destined as the one on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I'm not too hopeful about this army either. There's only 2 tanks and a handful of Marine Marauder. Serral now relocating all of his army, repositioning all of it from the north to the south. There's also a run-by that's a few little links, killing some SCVs before the PF morphs. And now Serral's here. So TY, I mean, he has that position technically, but it's not going to be like even particularly expensive, I think, for Serral to clear should he want to. And here he comes. So, yeah, I don't know. It's TY that's bleeding here, Barty.
Yeah, I mean, 2 tanks and then there's 2 for Blind Claws, right? You're basically fighting with no tanks, no splash damage, and once again, that's going to be the issue again and again, and Serral's making his way to Lurkers. We know that those are very good at changing this game.
Okay.
Maybe you kill this top right base, right? But you're going to kill this top right base at what? The army on the left side still going down. Big fight over there as Balins crash on through. Medevacs are falling, and maybe Serral doesn't even have that much to continue through, but it's just the supplies that are still standing. It's just ridiculously one-sided. TY cannot rebuild as he needs to, and well, I'm not sure about the Balins crashing into the tank, but it will do the job, and Serral can now just continue up this top side and make a good play on this. What is an orbital command? I mean, talk about being desperate, right? This wasn't even like an orbital float out of a main. It was a CC that he chose to morph into an orbital because he knew he had to play catch-up so heavily.
Yeah, he morphed on a location as well. So yeah, that really tells the story of what TY needs to win this game. It's a miracle at this point. Nice tank shot there. We'll get rid of a few banelings. But we are looking for some silver linings here, Wardy. It's a tough one. A PF on the south, at least on the side of TY. If he can maybe stay, I don't know how he does it. I mean, there's ultras on the way. There is pathogen glands on the way. There's the lurker upgrades coming up. 3-3. It is just, it's all Serral right now, Wardy.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to cast because you want to try and bring some positivity out for TY, but I think the positive part of TY is just hoping Serral makes a lot of mistakes. The problem is Serral can afford to throw an army away and then be like, oh, okay, and then build lurkers. Once he's on lurkers, I mean, that's the kind of army that just will not die, and that TY does not really have the tools to deal with. I mean, his tank count is on the way up, so that's a positive. Is it going to be high enough in the end? I'm not sure. A couple of ultras obviously can do good engaging into this as well. I don't know. You're right, it's just all Serral right now, and yeah, the top side army can't make a break, but that's because he's got an army on the left side that's just going to come in, kill the planetary yet again, and TY has held the 4 bases while Serral mines away comfortably, even expanding the TY side of the map.
Yeah, and that is just the thing. That's the game that he's playing. He has 84 workers. He could maybe go a little bit higher, even Serral, that is, but I mean, he's been trading so effectively and so efficiently throughout. This tank line, though, it's really doing work for TY. The banelings have to be shy to go into a tank line that's so deep. And with ghosts coming up, maybe TY can stabilize around these anchor positions and start sniping stuff and start trying to gain some value with those ghosts.
Well, here we come. A couple ultras coming through. A couple of ghosts sniping an ult already. And I mean, that's nice, but now the Banes are starting to get to the ghosts. They have to just straight up ignore them and keep going for everything else. Blinding clouds are good, and again, even if this front line of ultras go down, look at the production tab. 100 Zerglings are on the way. I mean, that must be some kind of achievement unlocked, right? 100 lings at once.
Exactly 100 lings.
Yeah.
Love it.
Amazing.
And, yeah, they're gonna come here. At this point, I mean, you cleared all the tanks, Wardy, probably just morphling Bane, and I think that's exactly what Serral wants to do here. Very low on any other units. TY desperately trying to push out, thinking, all right, did I run you out? Was that it? He knows it wasn't, but you know, there's a 1% chance that Serral wasn't. I don't know what he was hoping.
You gotta try, right? You know, you gotta just go and see. Maybe he forgot to in-check for the last 10 minutes of the game. No, it's a tough scenario, like we say. It's Serral for the majority of that game, right? For the last 5, 6, 7 minutes, it was Serral. In this game, really felt like he had control from the start. He didn't make any slip-ups, and everything that TY tried to do, Serral just pounced on. You know, he really gave TY no choice, so a really, really tough one, and Serral goes 2-0 in the lead. TY got to find a way to get a map back, and yeah, it's a tough life, Cats. I don't know what you do. Down 0-2 against Serral. Very few people have ever made that work.
Yeah, it's really, really tough. And I mean, TY did great in terms of a strategy again. Like, he did what he wanted to do, right? Makes Serral make the expansion where he wants that expansion so that he can do that tank push with that high ground aid. And Serral even double expands on that low ground. So that position was particularly strong for TY, right? If he manages to trade effectively off of that high ground, the game goes completely the other way. But the way that it looked, that fight so one-sided, it's just like, it's got to be demoralizing. It's like, you know, that was your strategy. You don't even finish setting up. I mean, there was 3 tanks, but surely you wanted a few more reinforcements to arrive, and yeah, Serral just giving him no time.
All right, well, we're going to go to a quick little break. When we come back, game 3, as Serral tries to put the icing on the cake for this series.
Welcome back to DreamHack Last Chance. And this might be the last chance for TY. I am joined by my good friend Wardy. What's up, Wardy?
Just a bit of Zerg right now, isn't it? It's a little bit of a sad day so far for TY. He kind of had a good hot start in Pillars of Gold, and since then it's been all about Serral, unfortunately. 2-0 up, and I don't really know what TY is going to do to stop him. I'd love to kind of come up with something of a solution, but I've really got nothing, cats. I just maybe trying to get crazy on 2 bases, fight early, get the Hellbats out. You got to do something though. You're in a lot of trouble, and the macro, the 3 CCs, they just ain't working out for you.
Yeah, they really aren't, right? Like those pushes, I mean, they got crushed. Is that okay? Maybe that will BC or something crazy like that. In the bottom right hand side of the map, it is the red Terran player, TY.
Maybe even just like a single BC. Maybe that's all we need. And the top left so far has been really, really impressive in the matchup today. It is Serral.
He is making it look easy. He really is, isn't he?
And you know what? He's going to go gas pool. Is this one of those scenarios where TUI tries to be greedy again because it's Death Aura, and he's going to die to something silly early in the game, and we're going to be like, no, and it's just like a depressing end? I can see that.
I hope not. I mean,
I hope
TY
not
did
too,
open.
yeah.
We all hope not collectively, so maybe that's enough. But TY did take an early gas, probably gonna open a Reaper and maybe just standard. This is a good defensive map, right? Especially for your first 2 bases. A very narrow choke. There is no ramp leading to them, so that is kind of good for potential Roach Ravager or something of the sorts if Serral wanted to go for that. But okay, TY skipping the Reaper actually.
Straight to Reactor. So the good news about this is you have a couple more Marines out to help defend against the Lings initially, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in a way, if you like blindly react to it, potentially just being roaches without having information, right? That's what the Reaper gives you, information. A Reaper doesn't necessarily kind of allow you to just sort of like shut down a roach relay. It just gives you the info. So if you see the pool first and you blindly react as though it is roaches, you're probably going to hold quite nicely. The problem is then you've got to make a blind decision to react to that, and if this turns out not to be roaches and Serral's just macroing off of the pool first, then you're actually in some trouble because then you're blindly reacting to defend something that's not arriving, right? So it's a little bit tough. That's why the Reaper is generally still a positive overall, and we are going to be seeing with 8 Lings in total here. Serral looks like might even kind of wait for Ling's speed before he makes a play. 30 seconds until that is done. He can probably pick up a few of the early Marines or so, though. That's a possibility.
I think this could be game ending, actually, Wardy, because there's not going to be Hellions out just yet, I think, when the link speed hits. And if it's just these 4 Marines on the low ground, they're going to get trashed. I mean, these Zerglings are going to reveal themselves, at least 4 of them, and great game sense from TY, looking for something, scouting around his base, and he's going to spot those Zerglings. So that's something to work with. Maybe a bunker or something of the likes would be good, but no, these Marines, I think, are doomed. The link speed will kick in, and this is a huge pickup for Serral. TY will have to wait. Oh, actually, the Hellions are out, so...
The Hellions out, yeah. I feel like Serral didn't see the Marine while the Marine saw the Lings, right? Because... TY pulled his Marines back and got them grouped up, and Serral was just like, oh, a Marine, and just kind of sat the Lings there, and the Marine double-checked the Lings, and the Lings still just kind of sat there. And it's kind of intriguing, as we'll see a medevac from TY, and that'll give him potential to drop Hellions up into the main. Sometimes that means we're maybe going to see an Armory, although I feel like that should have maybe started already if that's really the intention here. Serral will go for a pretty early Bailing Nest, though, so he's got that on his side already. So if there was Hellbats, he'd be pretty well set. In fact, it is just going to be the drops. He just needs to make sure he keeps an eye out for that. He does have an Overlord on the edge of the base, so no kind of visionless areas that he could drop Hellions into TY. And yeah, we'll see if these Hellions can do anything. Cats is going to go for the Raven follow-up as well.
Very interesting. All right, so maybe looking to creep clear if he can keep these Hellions alive, but Serral already making those links. The medevac is going to reveal itself, but I mean, it was already spotted a plenty, and like you said, there's already an Overlord spotting there. The little counter attack is not going to find much on the side of Serral, as TY has gone up to 7 Hellions, I believe, interestingly enough. Not 8, but 7, and he's just going to pull back. I mean, this medevac was kind of I don't want to say a wasted investment, but it has nothing to do for a little while either, right? So this Raven is gonna pop out, and then he can maybe start denying some creep and making some space and making some plays, but I don't know. Nothing that gets me hopeful about TY's position here. A second Raven, interestingly.
Wow, so he's really just gonna go all out, like, you know, put all the turrets and mineral lines, try and, you know, pull the Zerg apart a little bit and just try and deal damage everywhere. The empty medevac trying to be a bit of a bait perhaps over to the left-hand side and allowing the 7 Hellions in the center, but a Ling just saw all the Hellions, so unless Serral expects TY to have gone up to like 11 Hellions, yeah, then he should realize that this medevac is a bait and he should just have units in the right position, which he more or less does, right? Queens are still kind of put in the right place to shut down the Hellions. He gets one of the kills already. Now they're going to try and dive the natural. I was going to say that's a real desperation play from TY, right? If you're just going to run to the natural there, you're really just like struggling for answers and you're just really looking for anything. Raven does get here though. Auto turrets start to go down and that's annoying. So again, TY playing a very harassment-focused game, but as long as Serral holds off this harassment, he's free to just drone. And so his work account's going to start looking phenomenal in the next few minutes already.
Yes, indeed. And Serral understanding as well how important this creep is going to be. Even spreading creep with some overlords just to gain some positions forward for his queen so that the Hellions are, you know, just pushed back even further. And I mean, this Raven not really accomplishing much. One queen almost goes down, but it is safe. And the Raven's trying to look for some damage. I mean, TY not falling too far behind in terms of workers. He's only 9 or 10 workers, now 11 workers behind. But a workable position. It's just these units, they really need to deny this creep. They really were made for a purpose here. So the Hellions and the Raven trying to do what they can, but the Raven is also getting a little bit low, so we'll have to pull back.
I love what you mentioned about this Overlord spread and creep. It actually really helps to bring the queens forward, get the creep down. Like, it's actually so good. It's something you just don't really see, where it's going to help Serral reset the advantage that Raven gave to TY. That's really neat. Now even using that one on the right side to even really expedite the creep out the front of that third base. This is a really cool little move out of Serral, just speeding things along. Now we do see a little bit of a drop play over to the left, so looking to set up as we do have mutas on the way. So first mutas coming in, and TY will be looking to fight this with a good amount of Marines. The single siege tank in this army looks like he is going to try and set up a siege position on the fourth, and there isn't much creep out the fourth base, so maybe this is the position you can take advantage of. It's far forward.
Yeah, 3 queens are gonna go down for free, so that is a nice start. The tank is gonna be on the low ground and not too close to this hatchery, so it's gonna be up to the bio to try and siege this position. The Raven is gonna collaborate here with 2 turrets, and with that, TY is gonna finally get a small victory to his name.
Yeah, Serral Banes were morphing a little bit too far forward there. Not only that, but he didn't have baning speed for a few more seconds, so it was really a good moment for TY to jump in and get a cancel on that 4th hatchery. And again, created by the fact that Serral was maybe just a bit behind from where he wanted to be with the creeps. So TY taking advantage of that, doing well with it. Now we're going to be seeing as the mutalist count gets up. You imagine that Serral will find a chance to be aggressive. We do already see some mutas flying down the right side, only 5 of them. There's a lot of Marines back in base, so not going to find an opening just yet. It's something to watch out for the future. As the muta count rises, will definitely be more tempting from Serral to get aggressive elsewhere on the map.
Yes, indeed. And there's a big blob of blue already moving across and around this map. And with this muta, it's going to be much more difficult for TY as well to commit to any aggression. I mean, he has enough medevacs that he could have loaded a lot of his army and saved a good bunch. But with this muta, I mean, the cleanups from Serral are available. And TY now repositioning onto this high ground. He has been trying to take this very strategic positions with high grounds, with tanks, but it hasn't been working out for him. And this counterattack from Serral is just brutal. He's going to catch one of those important units in the tanks, a lot of Marines, and gonna make his way into the mineral line as well with these Zerglings, into both mineral lines. In fact, this is just disastrous.
Yeah, he's just going to go for the missile turrets, and then the SCVs are repairing, so he just says, okay, well, I'll just go for SCVs instead. Man, TY pulled all the way back home to deal with this with everything that he had. He's going to lose reactors as well. Man, it was just a brutal timing to jump on what was at the front, because there was a good amount of units there. So it was the fact that Serral was still able to overwhelm. It just meant that you lose so many vital units that you want here as TY, and then to have to give up your position on the map to deal with it all. That is brutal. The one thing TY has going for him, perhaps those upgrades, 2-2 underway. Maybe a 2-2 timing at some point here could be a savior, but everything that he does from here on out is going to be depowered a little bit because he just lost so many add-ons and he just lost that clump of units. It's going to be tough to kind of get a competitive army up against what Serral will have.
Oh, it's going to be extremely difficult. The creep spread, luckily for TY, hasn't really progressed much in the last couple of minutes, but the Mutas is where the attention has shifted on for Serral, and they have found a lot of damage already. The production for TY is really not there. He needs to establish this fourth base. He is now building a PF, I believe, so that's going to be a nice anchor for him. There's not that many banelings for Serral, but as I say that, he's morphing quite a few. I don't know, Wardy. I'm not sure what you're meant to do if you are TY from this position. At this point, I would say just get maxed out and try to continue to trade effectively, but it's rough, man.
Yeah, maybe like a couple of drops while you sit defensively on a lot of siege tanks / widow mines and just, like you say, build up the max snap. Don't lose 2-2. That would be disastrous here. And there's a thought to say no to the Mutas. That's actually a lot of damage on the Mutas as well as they fly up into Marines. That's not somewhere you can be, so yeah, Mutas kind of get pinned in a little bit. That's nice.
Yeah, I love the way TY is positioning his Marines to try and bait the Mutas to give him a little bit of space to fly in between, but then he sets a couple of mines in that space. So TY trying to do everything that he can to give himself a chance here, but here comes Serral, all right, into 2 tanks. If that happens a few more times, but no, at the same time, Serral finds space to... It doesn't even blow banelings onto the PF. Not just yet, anyway. Actually, very effective takedown of that planetary fortress with just links, identifying that the SCVs were evacuating. The Mutas will fly over some Marines, so that's a nice pick of 4TY, who is nearly maxed worthy. Does he have a chance?
Maybe, right? I mean, you never know. 2-2 versus 1-1, if you can get a fight like right now, perhaps. Serral's actually just going to go kind of thinks about diving in, but I think he realized the upgrades aren't there, so why not just wait for 2-2? You don't need to fight if that's the position of the Terran as it stands. It would be nice to fight before these reinforcements show up, so maybe Serral missed his opportunity to go from 2 angles. Anti-armor missiles, going to be great. Serral's just going to have to give up this base. But I don't hate it. He does have the far left to go to.
Oh, look at TY. Yeah, what I love about this is the blob on the map, right? TY retreats as soon as he realizes that Serral is foregoing this base. He no longer reinforces. Instead, he gets ready for the counter offense because he identifies that that must be the move that Serral is going for. And indeed it is. So this is pretty decent for TY of a defense and an offense. A 1-2 punch that has put TY somewhat back in this game, Wardy.
Yeah, it definitely helps him out. I just worry about, is there a next kind of step for TY, because he's still trying to rebuild a 4th base, right? So at the moment, as it stands, like his army's good, he's got a bit of money in the bank, but that's going to quickly deteriorate if he can't hold on to that far right side. And that far right side is more difficult to hold on to now, especially because he wants to push the left, because that's where Serral's 5th base is. So maybe that's where TY will have a weakness, and maybe that's what Serral can take advantage of, because we know Serral is so good at taking advantage of moments like that and positions like that. He does lose a lot of lings on the bottom side though, so that's at least a nice cleanup from TY, and maybe he will continue to push up on that left side successfully. As you can see, Serral just rallying a lot of units to the right, so he's really trying to make sure he can amass something to make a play on the right side for him.
Yeah, and TY is almost Burrow Banelings are making their way into that's the greatest game sense of all time. Actually avoids the Burrow Banelings completely, except for with the Thors, and we'll get a decent siege here. On the other side, not too much happening. There is a lot of Banelings and no real tanks or anything like that here to cause too much mayhem. So these Thors in the front are trying to bait some Baneling shots, but Serral is just waiting to consolidate his army, and it's gonna come in with the links instead. Let's see if this Widow Mines can do enough here. Wardy, a lot of Banelings actually going down to that Widow Mine.
That's kind of funny because those Banelings didn't have anything to roll at anyway. Actually, like, the units that they would have rolled into were already dead, so they just kind of went down for nothing. They're going to roll forward here to try and save the base, but for now it's working. Forcing TY to split off 3. He will save some of these Marines. TY is able to get away. The problem is Serral is still doing all of this while maintaining a bank. Like, he's still maxed and he still has money in the bank, but that's the Widow Mine that's going to help, and he needs to be a little bit better at splitting than what he was just there. He'd been really good at splitting units apart from Widow Mines up until then, but he really let the Zerglings just eat a big shot, and you can't let that happen. That's too expensive.
Yes, indeed. And this is the favorite position of TY right now, right? There isn't creep here, so he'll continue to siege this base. Widow Mines, I absolutely love them against Mutiling Bane. And TY will successfully take down this base once again. A lot of drones are actually trapped there. If he can get a hold of them, if he realizes that they're there, maybe he can just retreat here. There's no need to push the issue, but those drones are going to be safe. Marauders are not going to be enough to take him down fast enough. And on the other side, a lot of Ling Muta is going to make its way through, but the Thor is anchoring nicely. Will it be enough? I think this is a decent trade for TY, but I don't want to speak too soon here as the rest of the Widow Mines come and will actually burrow. This is not too bad.
No, it's great, I think. He cleaned up so many of the Mutalisks just now. Serral is still in trouble on this top side. He's on his way to Ultras, so they're going to take a while to pop. Okay. Even then, they're not going to have kindness right away, so you've got a lot of time you got to buy. I love that the Ravens are still here, by the way, just dropping auto turrets, messing with the AI of this army. They actually are doing a lot, those auto turrets, just to help the trades. Serral will continue to expand down the left side, and I really don't mind that. He also has a Ling blocking this potential command center, so those mules are actually wasted.
Please tell me. Yeah, please tell me there's a scan available after dropping those. Oh, there isn't. That's so painful.
Yeah, that's really painful. Now the Marine SCV.
They're angry at the Marine. They're like, "What are you doing?" Yeah,
let us mind.
Like, it's not me, man.
Yeah,
yeah. I guess he did. Yeah.
Yeah, he thought it was a changeling. He's like, "Wait, it didn't die." That's amazing. All right, these Widow Mines are kind of getting some kills, but then they're getting cleaned out. I'm not sure if it's effective. These couple tanks are just kind of left behind. A Widow Mine's going to burrow just as the drone tries to take that hatchery. The thing is, I'd be more worried for Serral if he hadn't established that forward left base during all of this. But because he's done that, it feels like he's still just ruling this left side of the map. And yeah, TY can have all the success he wants from the top side.
Mines! Oh no! Not paying attention, there was TY. But fortunately for him, actually, the Banelings retreat. I feel like that bio was more or less cornered. But maybe Serral not realizing or not knowing when that PF was going to finish. And everything that happened for TY, everything favorable that happened was in a very narrow window where he had 3-3 and Serral didn't. Ooh, careful with those Banes. But now the upgrades are evened out as well. So all of these fights upcoming are going to be a little bit more difficult for TY.
Yeah, he is on his way to Ghost, at least for kind of the follow-up to this. He has rid of a Thor. Serral has units on the top side as well, by the way, so he is looking to protect up there as TY makes a move. Yeah, that top side fight's going to be big in a moment or so because the Ultras are chasing into Marine Marauder tank, and Mutas are chasing as well, so he really wants to shut this down. And this is huge because this momentum can carry Serral forward into that right side base, and that's something that Serral's never really been able to crack this game. If he can crack that, it's obviously a big win for him. As Banes come through, they clean up a lot here. The one Ultra that is remaining is actually going to keep on cleaning up, and Serral's going to save the left side base as well. Oh, the Marauder. Okay, but now Serral's back over here with everything else. This base should survive, I want to say. Bane's aren't quite ready, I guess, and there's going to be new auto turrets to help hold this position gaps.
Oh, the mines are going to be huge. Oh, they actually clear all of the links, so that's fantastic. Serral able to clear this out eventually with relocating a lot of its army, but at the same time, TY is going to deny that base at the north one more time as a result.
Yeah, but maybe now Serral gets rid of this base on the bottom side, right? Yeah, what I was suggesting was going to happen to the top now actually happens down to the south. A single Ghost gets a snipe off, but that's not enough to pick up a kill. And he just rolls the Banes into the planetary and backs away. He will lose another base up here, Serral. So he's losing position to the top side. It's just, how important is this base really? You know, it's 4 mineral patches remaining. Even those are kind of low health right now, or low patches or low minerals remaining. So I'm not sure how great that really is. And now the Mutas are going to intercept the medevacs on the way back. They just don't quite catch it as the Marines begin to unload. Flings wanted to stream in. Good from TY to unload there. Otherwise, that was going to be big losses. And once again, the ping pong effect now back to the left side. And he will get one of the bases that actually really does matter for Serral.
Yeah.
Serral needs this base to mine. Otherwise, he's in trouble.
That's mispositioned as well. Wonder when he will realize. But yeah, absolutely with you, Wardy. I love the points that you're making about this because all of the objectives on the north side of the map have been already taken from TY. So he doesn't want to have army there, but he has a base there to protect as well. So it's really awkward from here on out for him. It's all about this left-hand side of the map. And all right, a lot of engagements going on here in the middle of the map. A lot of Widow Mines are going to detonate onto Ultras, but there's not too much to get rid of the rest. Actually, a lot of Marauders in the back, and those are going to deal with Ultras very, very effectively. So Serral is going to be pushed back here, and maybe TY can push on through and carry that momentum, like you were saying before, onto this base.
Yeah, Serral's double expanding top side, so hopefully TY keeps tabs on that as Banelings are going to come in from a couple sides. It feels like TY. I mean, the back army starts to split away, but the units in the front were in trouble, and now those units in the front have to run past Ultras to try and get away, so that hurts. But the Ultras are low HP as well. If they get targeted down, that could be huge pickoffs.
Finish
from
up!
TY.
Finish up!
Get rid of them, jeez. Oh my goodness.
I mean, each volley of, each coordinated volley of those 4 Marauders would have killed an Ultra, so I'm surprised that those are all still alive. Unfortunate for TY, but I mean, he did sandwich himself between creep. I feel like there were better places to maneuver that were a little bit chokier, like the choke that he had been going up where the Banelings were burrowed before. Maybe was the safer maneuver because he carved himself some space, but now I feel like he's been a little bit reset once again.
Yeah, it felt like TY had a couple really good moments, right? The last 2 minutes or so, up until the last fight, was going really well. But now, like you say, reset, right? He's kind of holding back. Yeah, okay, he's finally gone up to 5 bases, but Serral gets up to all of his bases as well, and that's the issue. Before it felt as though, okay, you get these 5 bases and you're putting Serral back onto very little mining. But now Serral has mining. In fact, TY is going to give up the right side base. He just runs SCVs away from there. Maybe thinking he'll just take the bottom left-hand base instead, but I mean, it feels like for all of that which he's gained, he's now going to lose that command center, and yeah, I think reset really is. It really does summarize TY's position as, okay, Serral has to pull off this space, but yeah, you just denied the right side, so he's kind of fine because he's mining the top again.
Yeah, and that base was always going to be very awkward for TY to defend. Okay, a very nice ultra snipe here, and TY gaining some ground actually, and he is taking the southern bases now, and with that position, he can really fight for this left-hand side of the map. And that is kind of what Terran wants to do, is they want to be close to Sergal already so that he can push on with these mines, with these tanks to anchor, with the ghosts, perhaps eventual liberators, and really, really choke Serral, because yeah, at this point, Serral he's just so good, right? Like, TY makes a little bit of ground on one side, and he's already expanded twice onto the other side.
Yeah, I really feel like Serral, if he keeps winning this right-hand side, he's going to take the base that TY had for a while. Right, and that's the issue. It's like TY might start getting more progress on the left. It's just giving Serral more room to work with on the right. And again, like you just said basically, it's what Serral's been really good at. And now he's just going to jump on this space. So yeah, you may make some progress on the left, but Serral's even clearing out even more on the right-hand side. And this is dangerous because this is where your reinforcements spawn. So you can't lose this position. Otherwise, Serral is just going to stop you ever getting an army up again. Bane's trying to roll for some Marines. They kind of connect in the end. And I thought maybe the Mutas had enough to go in there, but maybe not, as Marines come from a couple different angles. 18 SCVs killed. The burning orbital.
Burn.
Kind of a metaphor for TY in this series, right? It's like he's hanging on for as long as possible, but maybe eventually he's just going to burn out, because I know he's putting up a good fight. I know he's still got an army to work with, but if Serral keeps playing like this, none of that really matters. What's really big right now is that Serral has traded as effectively as TY has for the last 5, 6, 7 minutes. He's not been any worse off in resources lost, so that difference staying the same is problematic for TY, because Serral continues to mine more. This Fest again behind this army could be huge cats at some point. Not yet, though.
Yes, indeed, but he is very well on creep, and Serral is choosing to go for it with the beautiful Infestor flank. We saw him burrowed, and this is what it was for. He was just biding his time to make sure that there was no retreating for the army of TY, and I think we're seeing the beginning of the end, Wardy, as there's mostly just Marines against Ultras. Serral is being a little bit overly cautious, perhaps, but I mean, that's the right thing to be, right? And yeah, the champion, the GOAT, he's just at it. He's just way too good in this matchup, I think.
Yeah, his CBT looked really, really good in these last couple matches that he's played in this event. It kind of makes me want to see Clem get through to the finals, because Clem is the player who's maybe given Serral trouble in this matchup lately, and that is